Many assume the digital age has exposed the biblical text to a level of scientific and materialist skepticism it has never faced before. But the core structure of modern materialist arguments is nearly identical to the critiques the Church faced in the first century. Early scholars codified Christian apologetics, known as al-Lahut al-Dafai, as a formal academic framework with roots stretching back 2 millennia. This discipline was designed specifically to synthesize empirical evidence from history and science with divine revelation. It provides a repeatable methodology, ensuring orthodox theology withstands intellectual scrutiny rather than retreating from it. Most friction begins with the epistemological boundaries we set. Pure secular rationalism often restricts reality exclusively to what can be observed and measured. Conversely, irrational faith, a blind fanaticism that abandons the human intellect entirely, is equally flawed within this tradition. We reject both extremes.
Reason and faith are complementary forces. First, human reason must be exhausted to its absolute limits through rigorous analysis of historical and linguistic contexts. Second, where human cognition hits its natural limit, faith bridges the gap to grasp the infinite. Authenticating the biblical text requires both engines running in tandem. Relying on rationalism or blind faith alone causes the defense to collapse. This defensive methodology has evolved through 4 historical eras: the Apostolic, Islamic, Middle Ages, and Modern. During the foundational Apostolic era, spanning the 1st through 7th centuries, primary intellectual challenges came from highly educated Jewish and pagan philosophers. When the Apostle Paul debated at the Areopagus in Athens, he engaged the philosophical literacy of his audience directly, rather than relying on spiritual declarations. This approach was institutionalized by the Alexandrian school. In intellectual hubs like this Roman theater in Alexandria, Christian scholars built an academic powerhouse between the 1st and 4th centuries. These scholars utilized historical records, mastered complex ancient linguistics, and applied early scientific principles to dismantle complex pagan philosophies. Modern scholars apply a data-driven approach to evaluate biblical reliability. This dashboard assesses historical accuracy, geographical precision, scientific consistency, and eyewitness proximity. In classical analysis, eyewitness proximity carries enormous weight. Texts written by observers hold the highest academic credibility. The Gospel of Luke is a primary case study. As a physician and companion to the apostles, Luke compiled accounts from direct witnesses. He accurately records nuanced Jewish dining customs Christ encountered, details a fabricator would struggle to replicate.
Moving to scientific consistency, we encounter the materialist critique, which often frames the text as anti-science. While not a science textbook, the Bible's premise of an ordered cosmos inspired pioneers like Johannes Kepler and Isaac Newton to discover physical laws. From social customs in Luke to the 1947 discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls, confirming textual stability over millennia, the physical evidence clearly aligns. When geographical, archaeological, and manuscript records converge this closely, the mythicist theory becomes a historical impossibility. There is a danger in modern theology, the belief that superior historical and scientific data alone guarantees accurate results. Academic study is incomplete without piety, or taqwa. Spiritual discipline is the indispensable variable required to interpret the data correctly. This matrix charts the relationship between theological knowledge and piety. Arius sits in the bottom right quadrant. Possessing high theological knowledge but lacking piety, relying solely on his intellect led directly to structural heresy. Conversely, Athanasius matched high knowledge with high piety. His spiritual discipline and lived faith allowed him to preserve the orthodox transmission of the faith. The core principle is that the defender of the text must be guided by the Holy Spirit. Without submission, analysis is corrupted by human ego. Intellectual mastery, when decoupled from a lived spiritual discipline, results in analytical failure and theological drift. This is the complete architecture of apologetics, a synthesis of reason, faith, and data, all held within the boundary of piety. History, science, and logic are exposed without this spiritual discipline. Successfully defending the text today requires a multidisciplinary mastery of ancient cultures, modern scientific inquiry, and philosophical logic. Ultimately, the core purpose of this rigorous academic framework is the faithful transmission of an unbroken apostolic inheritance. By mastering this synthesis of reason, historical criticism, and piety, the modern scholar is fully equipped to dismantle contemporary skepticism with precision and faith.